Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Shock Horror Theatre Reviews. I am Ruben Crowley, and today I'm reviewing The Wax Mask, released in 1997. So, dear viewer, if you wouldn't mind, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like this video. So, like I said, The Wax Mask was originally released in 1997, a year I remember fondly as the year I created a mask of my own to wear when I attempted to kidnap the opera singer Katherine Jenkins and take her to my not-so-secret lair beneath the Paris Opera House. I mean, my mother's basement. So, what the hell is The Wax Mask? Well, I'm so glad you asked, dear viewers. This is an unofficial remake of 1953's House of Wax, starring Vincent Price, which itself was a remake of 1933's Mystery of the Wax Museum, which was based on a short story written by Charles S. Belden. Belden. What's that? You've never heard of Charles S. Belden? Belden? Well, haha, don't worry, dear viewer, neither had I prior to writing this review. So, how does The Wax Mask compare to the films that inspired it? Let's find out, shall we? That was a rhetorical question. So, story. Set in Rome in 19-something, our story centers on a wax museum where the characters featured in its macabre murder scenes are a little too realistic. Oh, and people start being murdered by a chap in a long coat who may or may not be a crazed, deformed lunatic who murdered our female lead character's parents 12 years previously in Paris. Snow White, this is not. If I had to describe the story, apart from, of course, saying it reminds me of the previous versions of this story, I'd say The Wax Mask is Phantom of the Opera meets Darkman meets a Dario Argento film. One of the good Dario Argento films, which is a hell of a coincidence, since Mr. Argento is not only a producer on this film, but he wrote the bloody story. Little fact for you ladies and gentle fiends, the screenplay for The Wax Mask was written by none other than Lucio Fulci of The House by the Cemetery and New York Ripper fame. But Mr. Fulci was unable to direct The Wax Mask on account of dying in 1996. So directorial duties were handled by special effects artist Sergio Stivoletti. What's that? You've never heard of Sergio Stivoletti? Well, don't worry, neither had I prior to writing this review. Though from what I understand, he worked with Dario Argento on Phenomena, one of my favorite Argento films. So, what was I talking about before? Oh, yes. So, what do I think of The Wax Mask? Well, I'm so glad you asked, dear viewer. This is a very gory homage to the classic films of Hammer horror in the 50s and 60s. The less said about Hammer horror in the 70s, the better. If you like the Vincent Price House of Wax or even the earlier incarnation, then I've got no doubt that you'll love this version. But, like I said, this is a very gory film, and there's plenty of boobage too. I can imagine that being a condition of Dario Argento's, who often has ample boobage in his own films. His good films, I'm talking about. Italian horror films have always been known for their quote-unquote excess, and The Wax Mask is no different. It is an amalgamation of many things rolled into one. One minute it's like a slasher movie, the next minute it's like an investigation movie, the next minute it's like a softcore pornography film, the next minute it's like a story of obsession. In the last 5 minutes it becomes like a remake of Terminator. And no, I'm not going to spell it out for you what I mean by that. You have to watch the movie for yourself. But all in all, this is an absolutely fabulous piece of horror movie making. I was going to say fiction, but of course it's fiction, it's a horror movie. Therefore, I declare that The Wax Mask is splendid. So, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, my review for The Wax Mask. If you enjoyed this little review of mine, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't enjoyed it, well then feel free to give me a thumbs down. But please remember the single most important thing I always tell you, dear viewer, and that is to always have good nightmares. Say goodbye, Ruben Crowley. Goodbye, Ruben Crowley.